Welcome to FATAN Commodity, your ultimate destination for informative videos about economy and commodities. Today's video is all about inflation. So, bear with us till the end to gain an insight about inflation. And yes, please subscribe the channel if you don't want to miss these kind of insightful stuffs. Let's begin. The strangest thing about economy is that the price of things keep rising. Prices and incomes in the past used to be ridiculously less than what it is now. You may have heard your grandparents talking about how it used to take just a few rupees to buy a piece of land that costs millions now. Even you may have experienced this. Imagine how much your favorite sweet used to cost when you were a child versus now. Imagine how hard it was in the past to get your hands on a 10 rupees note versus now. So, what is inflation? Why does it happen? How and why does the price of things increase and the value of money decrease? Should we worry about this? In the 17th century, the Spanish Empire literally collapsed due to inflation, without even realizing that it was the inflation that took them down. Over time, societies and governments have become obsessed with measuring and managing the inflation. So, why is there inflation? And what makes it happen? There are three types or reasons for inflation. The first kind is called a cost-push inflation. In this condition, the cost of businesses rise and the increased costs are passed on to consumers. There can be a lot of reasons for these rises. Increase in price of raw materials, increase in price of oils, labor shortage. Workers may ask more money because they know that there aren't anyone to replace them and businesses have no other option than to increase their wages. The result of all this is that the businesses push all these increased costs to the consumers by raising prices of their products and services. It's a dangerous move to increase the prices, but the businesses don't have any choice. They would go out of business otherwise. The second kind of inflation is called a demand pull inflation. This is when there are increase in the number of people who want something but the supply can't keep up to the demand. The most common cause of demand pull inflation is an otherwise rather nice thing that people are generating more money to spend. That's why governments can cause inflation by lowering taxes. Everyone loves tax breaks, because they raise disposable income. Similarly, a fall in interest rates may cause short-term pleasure and long-term inflationary pressure. If the interest rates on loans or mortgages fall, we might be tempted to take a loan to do things we wanted to do since a long time, like building a house, buying a car. But the car company or the real estate or construction companies, sensing solid demand, will soon enough pump up the prices and hence results in inflation. If banks and governments inject more cash and credit into the economy, people have more money to spend. But if they all are chasing the same number of goods as before, it means that they can all offer more for the same. This is what happened around the housing market in London. There are the same number of houses there were 25 years ago, but they all cost absurd amount more now. The third kind of inflation, or the classic cause, is governments printing money. There's a deep logic behind this idea which can at first sound almost absurd and criminal. Governments often want to stimulate the economy to create more jobs. So, they print more money. This can be done literally by increasing the number of notes in circulation. Or, they can do it by increasing government debt or by letting banks make bigger loans on the same security. In all these cases, the amount of money in circulation increases. But there's a big problem, because after a while it means the worth of every note starts falling, as more notes are chasing the same number of things to buy. Although there are more money in the economy, it doesn't let you buy more, but it pushes up the prices. However, there is a possibility here spotted by the famous economist John Keynes. He says that, it takes time for the value of money to fall, so for a little while there can be more cash around and prices haven't yet risen. This is a window of opportunity. In that window, people can actually increase their consumption. Firms can afford to hire more workers and buy new and efficient machinery which will boost up the production. And there will be more stuff to buy before inflation starts eating up the gains. So, he says that a little bit of inflation can grow the economy. It is a contested idea. The argument is that, it doesn't matter that the prices are going up 10% every year, if wages are going up 15%. So the government-led inflation can be a mechanism for growing the economy. But it is a very risky move, which has often backfired and been attacked by the anti-Keynesian economists. The capitalists, that are also called as monetarists, believe that anything which increases inflation is always going to be an issue, and must be avoided at all costs, whatever the short-term advantage it may bring. So, why is inflation such a problem? The real problem isn't the inflation. The real problem is that, not everything inflates exactly by the same rate. If both the income and prices goes up by 100% a year, it wouldn't be any issue, right? It would be weird, yes, but it wouldn't do any physical harm to the economy. The harm comes from the fact that not everything changes by the same rate. In 1941, the inflation of Hungary reached 150,000% each day. This means that an object that cost 10 rupees on Monday morning, would cost you 15,000 on Tuesday morning, and 22.5 million on Wednesday morning. It's a problem, only because other things would not be increasing as fast as the prices. If your wages, or the interest rate provided by the bank, increased by the same amount as inflation, it wouldn't be a problem at all. Since, those factors won't increase as such, if you kept your life savings hidden on a box. The value of them will be wiped out in a day or two. The money that could have bought you a car on Monday, would get you a piece of chocolate on Wednesday. This is an extremely rare scenario, however paints a basic picture about the inflation and draws a conclusion that, inflation is bad for your savings, and everything it is connected with. There's no point in putting money aside, and that's a pity, because saving money has always been a good characteristic. Keeping inflation low rewards prudence. It helps long-term planning, as you can know what your money will be worth in the future. Ultimately, inflation reflects the lack of stability in the world and standard of life. Prices rise because we aren't able to keep the complex economic system under control. There are always something going wrong. Either growing, or falling, or failing somewhere, that comes back around and affects the economy directly, or indirectly, and hence the inflation. Theoretically, keeping a fixed amount of money in the economy, with more or less fixed amount of money, chasing a more or less stable amount of goods, can control inflation. But in reality, low inflation is very difficult to obtain, because a lot of factors can derail it. Such as cost of raw materials, cost of labor, productivity, taxes, falling or rising, exchange rates, falling or rising, growing domestic economy, growing of neighboring economy, falling interest rates, buying government bonds, printing money. In the end, we have to accept the fact that, inflation is like weather, or our own moods, something that is inevitably unstable. We must enjoy the ups and downs, trying to reduce the effect of the extremes. Being afraid of inflation is reasonable and common. But, making peace with it is wisdom. We hope that you liked this video. Please leave a like to this video, as it helps us stay motivated, and bring you lots of contents like this in the future.